Boa tarde, companheiras e companheiros. Nas últimas semanas,
Good afternoon to all. Over the past few weeks, I have been following the struggle of those in Brazil who work for the app delivery companies. One of them asked, "Can you imagine a job where you carry food on your back but have nothing to eat yourself?" This is the so-called modernization of labor advocated by President Bolsonaro through his reforms. But it is not modernization, it's called capitalism. Brazil's legacy of slavery means that the overwhelming majority of these are young, black women. And so, in their protests, we have also heard the cry, "Black Lives Matter." Understanding slavery gives us greater reason to fight against capitalism, this miserable system that uses racism to exploit us even more. With their religious and pseudo-scientific arguments, the bourgeoisie sought to justify the supposed inferiority of millions of people based on their physical characteristics. This was to create the conditions for enslaving more than 12 million Africans, which Marx called a decisive pillar of the primitive accumulation of capital, which was also one of the greatest atrocities in human history. Slavery ended in Brazil in 1888. We are taught that this was the work of an edict from a princess, precisely to hide the history of black people's struggle. But our history is the history of the Quilombos, of Zumba da Palmeira, of the Malice Uprising, of the result of the Chibata, of the workers who defended the unity of blacks and whites in the trades unions. It is the story of people that cry out today, "We will rise again." Modern racism deepens with capitalist exploitation, even more so in Brazil, which has the largest black population of any country outside of Africa. Here, every government has kept black people, but also indigenous people, immigrants, and Northeasterners living under the worst conditions. Just as in the United States, Brazil has some affirmative action, but it has not changed the reality for the 31 million people who lack basic sanitation and the 13 million who live in the favelas, the slums, and who are mostly black. In the states it governs, even the Workers' Party itself, which approved the affirmative action racial quotas, has also unleashed attacks, such as through pension reform. That is why we fight for all rights for black people. But our goal is not that blacks should become part of the middle class or the bourgeoisie while most Brazilians live in misery. That is why our fight against racism is inseparable from the fight against capitalism. In this fight, we are not fooled, comrades. The police who put their knee on the necks of black people are not our allies. Currents on the left here in Brazil, such as the PSOL and the PSTU, make a huge mistake when they contend that the police are part of the working class and should be in our unions. Every day, these same police murder young people in the favelas. These same police organize the militias that are part of Bolsonaro's base, just like the striking workers in the United States. We in Brazil must demand the expulsion of the police from our unions. As C.L.R. James wrote, "The only place where Negroes did not revolt is in the pages of capitalist historians." It is time for us to reclaim the history of the international revolutionary movement, going back to the time of the First International, when Karl Marx supported the fight against slavery in the U.S. Civil War, to the fight against racism, and to the fight to defend the anti-colonial struggles in China, India, and elsewhere. We need to reclaim the battles of the Third International before Stalinist degradation, when it defended with all its might the cause of equal pay for blacks and whites. And we must reclaim the battles of the Fourth International, when Trotsky declared that conscious black workers were called by history to become the vanguard of the working class. These battles are more current than ever. Against imperialism and its limitless destruction, we must unite our class with all the peoples of the world, unify the working class without borders, and fight to put powerful revolutionary parties on the road to rebuilding the Fourth International.